Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation. My name is Mehmet Genç. Today we will use Excel Jupyter Notebook and Power BI for our data cleaning and visualization process. So first of all, let's check out the overview. We are gonna start with our data and then we will use Excel for clean our data. Next step going to be create a pivot table on Excel. And then we will start to use Jupyter Notebook for further cleansing process and some visualization. Next step is Power BI. We will create an interactive dashboard on Power BI and we will examine our dataset. And last step is going to be a result. So let's start with our data. So our rough data about weekly salary information in Canada between 1991 to 2019 by region and sector. As you can see on the screen, we have a lot of rows and some columns. In this step, I'm gonna get rid of the unnecessary columns. So this is my worksheet. For this process, I'm creating a new worksheet and I'm filtering some columns as well because I don't want to keep some information. As you can see, the filter function is already open. So so now we can create a pivot table with this clean data. I'm using salary value and industries for pivot table, and we can create a chart based on this table. As you can see, according to this chart, we can say that the industrial aggregate excluding unclassified business, which is here, and professional, scientific and technical services, and the last third one, I guess, yeah, wholesale trade, have highest weekly salary. So let's moving with the Jupyter Notebook. I uploaded some libraries that I needed and then upload my data on Jupyter Notebook, and then we can check out our data, some information, and here is my data. I called my data is data frame DMF. So there's some statistical information about my data, and in this section I want to remove null values from my data, and also I want to change some columns name. I'm calling my data again, and yes, it seems better. So we have 31,202 rows and 5 columns. So I'm importing some libraries for visualization. This is our first interactive chart. It's here, yeah, but it looks a little bit confusing. It's not clear as I want it. So let's continue to create chart. This one looks better than others. And I have one more chart here and it looks pretty good. Everything is clean. As you can see, my title, ankle, font size is everything done. So let's continue the visualization with Power BI. Yeah. Before I start talk about Power BI, I just want to check out the PowerPoint. So we clean the data, we create the pivot table, we have a chart based on pivot table. We use Jupyter Notebook for further cleansing, and we have 1, 2, 3 chart from Jupyter Notebook, and the time is using the Power BI. So this is my interactive dashboard, and first chart is about salaries by regions, and we have total weekly salary by years, and years by years chart is here, and also we have another salary chart by enterprise size of employment, and the last one is about salaries by sectors. So according to these charts, we can say that companies with less than 50 employees, which is this chart I'm talking about. So as you can see, this one is 0 to 49 employees, and this one 5 to 19, and this one 0 to 4 employees. So companies with less than 50 employees pay the highest weekly wage. Other interesting point is that here the Alberta. So the Alberta is Alberta is a state with highest weekly wage, and this chart says as industrial aggregate excluding unclassified business is paying highest wage in the sectors. So in this graph, we can see the dramatic salary decreases after the 2018 crisis here. So at this point, if we look at the situation of the sectors before and after the 2018 crisis, click on this here. Yeah. We see that while most of the graphs do not change, Alberta still is the highest one, the industrial ag is still the highest one. There is only a change in our graph of the size of the companies. We see that the highest salary per week before the 2018 crisis is paid by companies with 300 and more employees. So what happens after crisis? So let's go to 2019. Yeah, we are in the 2019 now. So companies with 300 or more employees suddenly fell to 4th place, leaving companies with 50 or fewer employees in top 3. As you can see, 0.5%, 66, 58, and 53. The top 3 is the companies that they have maximum 50 employees. If we briefly look at how the sectors were affected by the crisis, we can say that some of them suddenly recovered, which is, for example, this sector, you can see that, but if we talk about this sector, is still recovering process, and we can say that for this sector still far away their position that before crisis, and we can check out all of them. As you can see, the sector is performed very well. Construction, manufacturing, transportation, finance and insurance seems not good. Public administration, retail trade is good, and educational services. So in addition, here. So in addition, this graph clearly shows us that the companies with a large number of employees were, so I'm talking about here 2018, and you can see that the 300 and more employees, those companies is paid the largest wage, weekly wage. And when we got to 2009, we can see the dramatic decreases and changing. So we can say that the large number of employees were extremely adversely affected by the crisis, and the higher weekly wages were paid by smaller companies. After all these graphs, we can say that as a result, companies with a large number of personnel cannot pay as high as they used to, and this situation is close to recovering almost 12 years after the crisis. So as you can see, this orange trend is average, and after the 10 years later, after the crisis, we just passed the average weekly wages. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. We explained all of these charts here, and this chart is clearly show us the 2008 mortgage crisis, how affect the private sector and the weekly wages. And to sum up, when we examine the weekly salary amounts by sector and regions in Canada, the companies that employed more than 300 people in the period until 2008 crisis, especially the companies operating in industrial total, except the unclassified business and technical service areas, were giving the highest weekly salaries. After the 2008 crisis, the sectors that give remain the same, but we see companies with less employment paying higher weekly wages. We can say that the 2008 crisis affected large companies much more than small companies, and this indirectly reflected on the society as a wage drop and affected the welfare of society. Another issue is that we observe that weekly wages across Canada have slowly exceeded pre-2008 numbers, and the impact of the crisis has been overcome by the new private sector. So, thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.